No one inside the Yamaha paddock expected what would unfold during those final hours at Le Mans. For months, the rumors had been a slow-moving storm. Yamaha, the house that the inline-4 built, was tearing up its own history to build a V4 monster. But by the time the 2026 season hit the European leg, that monster seemed to be winning the fight. In the early rounds of Bararam and Austin, the telemetry didn't lie. The bike was fast, but it was biting back. It was a machine that lacked a soul, leaving even a talent like Toprak Razgatlıoğlu, the Turkish Hammer, wrestling with a front end that felt disconnected and a rear tire that seemed to vanish after 10 laps. The pressure wasn't just technical, it was existential. If the V4 project failed, Yamaha's era of dominance was officially over. But as the sun rose over the Bugatti circuit for the final test session, a shift occurred. A change so subtle that most of the paddock missed it, until the timing screens began to turn purple. Yet this wasn't just about a faster lap time. It was about a discovery that would change everything for Toprak, his team, and the entire 2026 championship narrative. But the real turning point, HAPPNED away from the CAMERAS. Inside a garage that had been completely shuttered to the public. Le Mans is not just a racetrack, it is a technical gauntlet. The Bugatti configuration is a brutal cycle of violent acceleration followed by soul-crushing braking zones. For a motorcycle, it's a test of balance. For a rider, it's a test of nerves. Entering the 2026 French GP weekend, the paddock whispers were growing loud. Critics claimed Toprak was a superbike king who couldn't translate his aggressive DNA into the precision required for a 300-horsepower MotoGP prototype. He was fighting the expectations that had been placed on his shoulders since he first signed the Pramac Yamaha contract. Inside the garage, the tension was thick enough to cut. Technical director Max Bartolini was seen in heated discussions with the electronics team. The problem? The V4 was delivering power like a sledgehammer when they needed a surgeon's scalpel. But behind that calm expression Toprak wore for the cameras, a new strategy was being born. He wasn't just trying to ride the bike anymore, he was trying to break it, to see if it would finally listen. And from that moment, the entire philosophy of the Yamaha V4 project would be turned on its head. The breakthrough didn't come from a new part but from a revelation in the code. Yamaha's engineers had finally cracked the linear throttle response puzzle. For the first time since the V4's debut, the power didn't arrive in a chaotic burst. It flowed. According to insiders, the team had moved away from the safety-first electronics maps that had crippled Toprak's exit speed in Thailand. They gave him back the control. This allowed Toprak to utilize his signature Stoprak style, braking so late and so deep that it defied the laws of physics. On the previous versions of the bike, this approach led to a terrifying instability. But with the new V4 engine braking maps, the weight distribution was finally controlled. The bike no longer felt like it was trying to eject him in the corners. Yet as the sector data showed massive improvements in the short acceleration zones, a new conflict emerged. If the bike was now this fast, could the Michelin tires actually survive the 26-lap distance? But what the telemetry discovered next would leave even the most senior mechanics stunned. Section 4, The Predator Awakes. As the afternoon session began, Toprak did something he rarely does in a private test. He stopped chasing the clock and started chasing people. He was seen simulating overtakes on rival riders, diving into the narrowest gaps of the Bugatti circuit with a level of confidence that hadn't been seen all season. It wasn't just a time attack, it was a psychological war. He was sending a message to the Ducatis and KTMs, I am no longer defending, I am hunting. The ghost lines on the monitors showed Toprak taking lines that shouldn't have been possible on a V4. He was carrying the corner speed of an inline-4, but exiting with the raw drive of a V-configured engine. It was the Frankenstein masterpiece Yamaha had been dreaming of. But while the garage was beginning to celebrate, the rival teams were starting to look toward the Yamaha garage with a new sense of concern. The competitive landscape had just shifted. However, the twist that followed in the long-run simulation would change the narrative entirely. As track temperatures spiked, usually the performance would drop, grip would vanish, tires would grease over, but as Toprak began his 15-lap race simulation, the opposite occurred. His time stayed within a fraction of a second. Lap 1 was identical to lap 15. This was the tire degradation miracle. By smoothing out the power delivery, the V4 was no longer spinning the rear tire into oblivion. It was managing its energy. In modern MotoGP, races aren't won by the fastest man, they're won by the smartest man on the oldest tires. And Toprak was suddenly looking like the smartest man on the grid. Some observers suggested this was a turning point, not just for a race but for the era. The internal friction within Yamaha, the months of being told they were a step behind, was melting away under the French sun. Yet this was only the beginning of a far bigger storm brewing in the paddock. In a brief post-session interview, Toprak made a simple statement that sent shockwaves through the media center. "For the first time, I feel the bike is working with me, not against me." It was a quiet admission of the hell he had been through over the first 4 rounds of the season. He had been a passenger on a 220-mile-per-hour rocket ship. Now, he was the pilot. But beneath the euphoria, the team remained realistic. A test is a controlled environment. A race weekend under the pressure of 22 other riders and the unpredictable French weather is a different beast entirely. They knew that one severe setback, one difficult crash could reset the clock to 0. The psychological weight was shifting. Toprak was no longer just a development rider, he was a contender. But the question remained, could the bike handle the heat of real battle? By Friday evening, the atmosphere in the Le Mans paddock had turned cold. Rival managers were seen huddled in corners, staring at the Sector 3 data from the Yamaha. There were rumors of a controversial advantage regarding the V4's new aerodynamic package, a series of hidden winglets designed to stabilize the bike during Toprak's extreme braking maneuvers. Nothing was officially confirmed, but the speculation was enough to cause a rift between the manufacturers. Yamaha had gone from being the underdog project to the target of an investigative eye. The team's technical approach was now being scrutinized by everyone on the grid. They had found the balance, but in doing so, they had painted a target on Toprak's back. Yet the real drama was about to unfold on the track, where the talking would have to stop. As the sun sets over the Circuit de la Sarthe, the 2026 French GP stands on a knife's edge. Toprak Razgatlioglu and the Yamaha V4 have sent their message. They are no longer here to develop, they are here to fight. This wasn't just a flash-in-the-pan performance. This was the beginning of a new era for a legendary manufacturer and a rider who refused to be told what was impossible. The pieces of the puzzle are in place. The V4 is hungry. The Turkish Hammer is ready. And as the world watches, one big question remains. Was this just a dream in the data, or are we about to witness the most improbable comeback in MotoGP history? The answer will be revealed under the pressure of the lights, but one thing is certain. The 2026 season will never be the same again.